Good Sunday morning. Before we get to politics, it's another shooting. At least 8 people are dead, including children, after a gunman opened fire at a suburban outlet mall in Allen, Texas, not far from Dallas, before the gunman was shot and killed by a police officer who happened to be there. This is the second deadliest mass shooting this calendar year. When we came on the air last week, by the way, we were following the manhunt for another Texas gunman who had fatally shot 5 people after he was asked by a neighbor to simply stop firing his gun in his yard. This week, 6 people were killed in Henrietta, Oklahoma. In Atlanta, a gunman opened fire in a waiting room at a medical office building, killing 1 and injuring 4 others. And yet, despite the uptick in mass shootings this year, there's been no change in the political response to this growing gun violence crisis. It's yet another example of our broken political situation where polarization has made governing and any action impossible. The bases of both parties punish anybody that seeks any sort of common ground. We're seeing it in the response to the judicial branch, where there is clearly a growing cancer on the Supreme Court. A body that used to pride itself on judicial independence is now perceived as just another partisan branch of government in a polarized nation. In the eyes of the American public, the justices' robes are not black anymore. They're red and blue. Last year, just 1 in 4 Americans said they had a great deal of confidence or quite a bit of confidence in the Supreme Court, according to Gallup, the lowest rating in 50 years. And that was after the leak of the draft Dobbs opinion on abortion and before what we're dealing with right now, which is a slew of ethics issues involving the justices. What started out as a story about Justice Clarence Thomas accepting luxury vacations from a billionaire donor has become a flood of headlines questioning the court's overall ethics, and Thomas himself, with a private school tuition for Thomas's great-nephew being paid for, paying for Thomas's mother's home, paying for hundreds of thousands of dollars to a nonprofit that then paid a 6-figure salary to Thomas's wife, Ginny. And there was another report this week of a conservative activist paying Ginny Thomas under the table while he had business before the court. Thomas has not responded to any of the most recent charges, and after the first story came out about the vacations, he issued a statement simply saying he didn't believe the trips with, quote, close personal friends were reportable. Now, Democrats are demanding a formal ethics code for the Supreme Court, which right now has no binding code of ethical conduct, like the one that actually governs every other federal judge in America. But most Republicans right now, afraid of angering the base or looking like you're giving the left anything, are rallying around Thomas, using whataboutism and rejecting any tightening of ethics rules.
He's obviously been targeted because he's a conservative black man, and he's on the Supreme Court in an effort to undercut the legitimacy of the court.
Many people, some in the media, many in Congress, want to make this about Justice Thomas. But you can't make this issue about Justice Thomas unless you're willing to make it about any number of other justices who had very similar situations that they're dealing with.
Now, the same broken partisan politics that are eroding the Supreme Court's reputation are making it impossible for members of Congress to move forward and make deals and legislate, whether it's on addressing mass shootings, on immigration, Title 42 is set to expire, or on the debt limit with the risk of default coming as soon as the end of this month. So as leaders from both parties prepare to meet at the White House on Tuesday, President Biden, who claims he's not negotiating right now on the debt ceiling, is clearly preparing to negotiate on the debt ceiling. But he clearly hopes that he can drive a wedge between Republicans as he does it.
There's a Republican Party and there's the MAGA Republicans. And the MAGA Republicans really have put him in a position where, in order to stay Speaker, he's agreed to things that maybe he believes, but are just extreme.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.